All right, Raider Nation, welcome to the first ever episode of Franchise Raider Podcast, right here on the Franchise Raider Podcast Network. Joining me is the franchise sports writer, NFL insider, Joe Arrigo. What's up, Joe?
What's up, buddy? Sitting here, sipping a cerveza on this rainy day and ready to get into this outstanding Raiders talk.
That's what I'm talking about, man. You know, we got a few interesting topics to go over tonight, but Raider Nation, we want to hear from you. Phone lines are open right now. You guys can start lining up. The number is 253-993-3651. That's 253-993-3651. You want to be a part of the conversation? Call in right now. Get in line, and we'll go to the phone calls. First come, first serve. All right, guys. You know, it's been a tough time for just the United States in general. All of the sports has been affected by it, and the NFL is no exception. I mean, yes, we've had the luxury of having free agency the last few weeks, but I don't know about you, Joe, but have you noticed like it's been a slower week 2 than normal?
Yeah, man. Like it has been a slower week 2, but I mean, at the end of the day, you know, when you don't have players able to travel to cities to have, you know, some type of physical done or meeting for something like that, it's going to slow it down a little bit. But at the end of the day, I mean, everything is at a standstill right now for the most part. So we just got to, you know, kind of adapt. And this is kind of the new norm for the next, you know, however many that we have to do it for.
Exactly. But I think it's made it really interesting for kind of stuff that we like to do is we have to find other ways to find stories and spin on stories to have some good sports talk. And so today when I was sitting there, you know, the topic came to my mind is like, you know, all I ever heard when we were going to move to Vegas is how having no state tax was going to help propel the Raiders into signing certain players. But early on, we lost out on Byron Jones. Now we did lose it to another team that has no state tax. So I understood that one, but we lost out on other players like Chris Harris. And so I want to put the question out there to the Raider Nation. Once again, the phone lines are open, 253-993-3651. But Joe, do you think there was any player that we landed on free agency that being in Vegas and the state tax had anything to do with?
Yeah, Corey Littleton, Nassib. When I look at Nassib's a financial guy, so he knew off the rip what it was going to be like with no state tax in Nevada. You know, probably some of the other guys, but it's not just the state tax though. That's the thing. Like for Byron Jones, it was how much money was in the front part of the contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, okay, well, I mean, realistically and truthfully, the Raiders offered more.
Right.
But some of that was on the back end, you know, the middle to back end of it. And he wanted more money the first couple of years. That's guaranteed money. So I think the structure of the deals is what's kind of hindered some of the guys. And look, Chris Harris, that situation was he looked at the Chargers defense and felt that's the best opportunity for him to go out there and make a lot of plays. Versus every right to feel that way. Because quite frankly, the Chargers defense is better than the Raiders defense. You know, they're ready to win
they
right
got a better
now.
Defensive front.
Yeah, you know, and even the secondary. I mean, you got, you know, Derwin James and Nasir Adderley, you know, who was a guy that a lot of people thought was going to go early, you know, mid to early round 1 or mid to late round 1 last year. You know, it's there's a lot of that involved, you know, where you see that and you see, you know, the other corners on the roster. Now they're, you know, they got 3 really good corners and then their middle linebacker, their outside backers, their D line. I mean, that's a defense ready to win. The problem is on the offensive side of the ball for them. When you look at the Raiders, you see a bunch of young guys, but a lot of them are unproven. He didn't know what the Raiders were going to do. He didn't know, you know, yeah, they added Littleton and Kwiatkowski and whatnot. But, you know, after that, he's kind of like, all right, like they're young guys that may not develop still. You know, I want to go somewhere where it's veteran, where I feel like I have a good chance to win. But the whole structure of the contract is what held back like Byron Jones and some of the other guys that the Raiders really like to get their hands on, but they just didn't.
One of the other things that I really took from it myself, and it was actually really awesome to see, is that it's not always about the money they make. Some of these guys, they also want to have the richest contract, the most guaranteed money. It's not always about the state tax. Now, I feel like if a player was undecided and the money was very similar or basically the same, I think that's what would give someone like the Dolphins and the Raiders that upper hand to say, you know what, they're going to come to us because at the end that'll give them more money in their bank. But it just seemed like guys like Chris Harris even didn't just want to take the money. He wanted to be in a position to succeed. He wants to play ball and he wants to be successful. And I can get down with that. I'm obviously not a Charger fan and not so happy that he went there. I'd rather him be on the Raiders, but it was refreshing to see some of these players make more than just financial decisions when it came to what team they were going to go play in.
Well, even I'll take it a step further, and this is in the same line with Marcus Mariota. Like, one of the reasons he wanted to play for the Raiders was because he's closer to Hawaii, where his family's at, and it's the closest he's going to get to Hawaii in his mind, because he wasn't going to go to LA and play, and it's the ninth island. Vegas is the ninth island. So for him to go there and come to Vegas and be here, that for him, it makes it all the more worthwhile. That's why, like, money plays an issue, but money plays a role. But I think playing time, looking at the guys ahead of you, whether or not you can pass them or you just come in and jump ahead of them and start, those are other things that come into play for guys. And younger guys, look, guys trying to get guys on their second year of their contracts, that fifth-year quarterbacks or 6-year, they usually get that fifth-year option picked up. They get paid, and that next contract's supposed to be their big contract. And cross sports in general, your second contract is that big contract. He didn't get it, so he's kind of got to show and prove himself. He's got to reestablish his worth like Ryan Tannehill did at his expense in Tennessee last year. And even Corey Littleton, you've seen this guy. Nick talked about it yesterday. What he brings to the Raiders from the Rams is something in locker room wise and on the field wise. He's worth that $22 million guarantee. Where that $4 million guarantee to Witten is more for, leadership and the intangibles. But then you got guys like Nelson Aguilar's making $887,000. That's his guarantee. That's what he's guaranteed to make this year. And at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that he's not worth it. It just means that, guy, you got to prove a lot more to get that big payday, because he's another one that didn't get a huge payday in his second contract with Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's all about second, sometimes even third chances. Eli Apple, I thought got a favorable next contract, but let's focus on Mariota. Let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit and roll right into that. Here's a guy that lost out to Tannehill, didn't get his option right. He finds himself coming into a position where he's going to be a backup quarterback, at least coming in. Right before we went on, we were going over what Mariota said. Did it seem like to you what Mariota said was something that did you find that as a positive thing, or was there an underlying message there to Derek Carr?
I think it was a phenomenal thing to say. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and reread it for those who haven't heard. This is out of Marcus Mariota's quote when he talked to KHON TV. First and foremost, this is Derek's team, and I understand that. Going in, my priority going into free agency was to be part of a team that I felt could bring out the best in me. Whatever happens, whatever comes of that, I'm ready for. But I do know quarterback in the NFL to be in that spot is not an easy job to do. And I also think when it comes down to it, a strong, stable, supportive quarterback room makes that job a whole lot easier. And that's what we have to do. And I'm going to do my best to support Derek in every way possible that I can. And along with that, I'm just going to try to become the best player that I can be and see where that takes me. So what that tells me is he knows it's Derek's team. He's going to support him 100%. He's going to work his ass off on the field, off the field. And when it's his time to be called to get some tick, whether it's in preseason or God forbid Derek gets hurt or he doesn't play well, he's going to put out his best foot forward. And I will say this, and I thought about this after we did the show last night. Fans seem to think that players that are on teams go into this like, oh, I'm taking your job and we can't get along or we don't like each other or it's some type of battle. It's not like that at all for the most part. My brother played 5.5 years in the NFL and another 5.5 in Canada. And when he was with the Chiefs, his first 2.5, 3 years, um, he said, his job is to take the guy in front of the person in front of him's job, and to continue to do that until he's the starter. Then it's his job to keep, and he's got to work his ass off even harder to keep his job. But that doesn't mean he wasn't cool. I mean, he had someone like Ty Law showing him the ropes. Now, when you're an undrafted rookie, for instance, you're always going to be up against ball, so to speak, because anytime someone is drafted, having that draft status going into free agency or going to another team always plays a major role in anything. And so I double back to Mariota now. Look, he was a number 2 overall pick in the draft for a reason. He showed enough talent as a quarterback coming out of college and even early on in his career to be drafted that high. And Derek did too, coming out of Fresno State, except it was in the second round. The need maybe wasn't there for teams in that draft for the quarterback. Now, that's not to say Derek can't have his job taken, but Mariota knows he's up against it, and he's going to do his best to support Derek, to be an ear for him to be a good teammate. I mean, Brett Favre had it with Doug Peterson and Ty Detmer and Mark Brunell. I mean, all those guys came in together, except Favre was a year older than him. But even with that, you still have the situation like Don Mikowski gets hurt. Brett Favre comes in, he's Iron Man. No different here. Derek's job, your job is to be in the quarterback room, support him, help him. If you see something on film, let him know, because you want to win. And then once that's over and done with, you go out there on the practice field, you compete your ass off. And if he has bad weeks, then Mariota slides up. That's bad weeks on tape, in game and in practice and whatnot. Mariota probably will overtake him. If he continues to progress, look, now you have a bond. You have someone you can trust that isn't a coach, and that's huge. You have to have those types of relationships in the locker room, because it's not like, oh, me and Knight, we do shows, and we work for 2 different stations, hypothetically. Like, I don't like him. I can't rock with this guy right here. This guy right here. Nah, I don't rock with him. I don't like that station. No, it's not like that, bro. I heard your show. It was good. I like what you did here. That's how it works in that type of field. It's not like you play for the Chiefs, so F you. It's not like that. You give credit where credit is due, and you move on from that.
And this is the thing. When you look at how Mariota handled himself last year after losing his job to Tannehill, he was a team player right behind him, helping him in the playbook, helping him see things that maybe he missed. He was a complete team player. So that's what we got. And those statements back up his actions from last year in Tennessee. And let's not forget that in Mariota's career, he got hurt, lost the season as well. So this is a guy that was coming back from injury and trying to get his confidence back too. I think him and Derek are going to be good together. And taking off everything that you just said, Joe, it's that old saying, man, iron sharpens iron, man. And that goes in any field. It doesn't matter what you're doing for a living. If you have somebody, a teammate, someone that, a second person in charge, whoever's your right-hand guy, whether you're the big dog or the one that's behind him, helping each other only helps the opportunities grow. And it's what you do with your opportunities that count. So Mariota knows that. So Mariota is going to be a grinder. He's going to have Derek's back. They're going to work the playbook. He's going to learn the system. They're going to help each other out. Iron sharpens iron. And if that opportunity presents itself for Mariota, then Mariota is going to make the best of it. Whatever happens after that is up to John Gruden and Mike Mayock at that point. So again, this is only going to help the Raiders. And it goes along with even the Nelson Aguilar signing, even the 2 linebackers, Littleton and Kwiatkowski. Even putting a guy like Heath, as little as that seems, still in the safety room. Those are the things that you want competition. That's what you're looking for as a coach. It's not always finding the best guys, finding the best guys to go out there and compete. You have to, coaches say it all the time. No job is safe. Everybody's got to come earn their stripes. Now we know that there's certain players out there that got it. Like, I don't think anybody's coming in or is anybody's going to be signed to take Josh Jacobs' job, but they're going to find somebody that's going to work with Jacobs, grind with Jacobs, because if Jacobs goes down, they want that next guy up to be just as good as Jacobs.
Well, that's how good teams are. I mean, you look at a lot of what makes you go 80s and 90s more so than you do in the 2000s, because very rarely do you have a team that's as deep. But look at those Cowboys and those 49ers teams and even those Raiders teams, in the 90s. You got Marcus Allen backing up Bo Jackson or moving to
Right.
fullback for Bo Jackson. When you look at those 49er teams, I mean, their players are interchangeable. Same with those Cowboy teams. Someone goes down, the next man comes man up. But that's because you draft well or you add good guys in free agency. And it's no different nowadays. And let's say hypothetically, third round Cam Akers is available from Florida State. He's more of a power back. He probably is going to be there in the third round. He's a guy that has some deficiencies in his game, but they can be overlooked. He's a guy that I think the Raiders would like to, have some type of interest in to back up Josh Jacobs because he can do some things the other backs can't do that's on the roster behind Jacobs. And why not add him? Because we have a need here. If he's your best player available, you have to take him regardless. And that's where it is. If John Gruden and Mike Mayock at 12 or 19 feel the quarterback that's available at that time is the best player available, God bless them, and they'll probably end up taking them because you can't pass up on talent because you are just an injury away from going from the penthouse to the outhouse.
Yep. And it depends on what kind of injury that is can dictate if you're ever going to play again. So teams can't always go in and say, well, I set my roster. There's my starting 11 on both sides. Everything else I grab right now don't have to be as good. That's not the idea, right? And that's what's so big about the draft. And that's what's so big about getting these undrafted free agents or undrafted players to come in, because those are the guys that you groom. How many times have we seen players that end up being remarkable stars in the NFL that were undrafted? We got Jalen Richard on the team right now. He's our best pass blocker. I mean, at least last year. Hopefully Jacobs catches up to him in that department. But he has great speed, great hands. He's picked up on the game, and he just got paid. He just got paid, and he was undrafted. So just because you're not drafted doesn't mean that you don't have the skills or talent. I mean, if you look around the league, there's only 32 teams in the NFL. That's why Canada is one of the places they go to hone in their skills. That's why. Franchises now like the XFL kind of makes sense for some of these players to continue to play and continue to work on their craft. It doesn't mean that it's the best thing for them. They'd rather be in the NFL, but you can't always, it's about being at the right place at the right time, the right coach, the right scheme. And sometimes that's not as easy as just saying, hey, I want to go there. I want to go there. But when you get that opportunity, you have to make the best of it. And Mariota had his choice, and he's coming in with his head on straight and saying, you know what? I'm here, coach. What do I need to do? And that makes me excited, not only for Derek Carr, but for Marcus Mariota as well.
Well, to piggyback off the undrafted free agents, you had two guys that played a pretty big role last year that got significant playing time with the Raiders. You got Ingold and Keyshawn Nixon.
Nixon, yep.
I was listening to Sirius today, the NFL channel, and they're talking about how the fullback is now in vogue. How many teams run 21 personnel,
right?
And they use Ingold as the example of how a great fullback, a really good fullback, paves the way for the running back. And Josh Jacobs said it best, I know where I'm going half the time because Ingold knows exactly where to go on every play, and that comes from your fullback. That comes from your undrafted guys. My brother was undrafted, and he had his choice of teams. He grew up a Raider fan. The Raiders were trying to sign him. He also had Green Bay, Kansas City, a couple other teams. He signed with the Chiefs because he looked at the roster and seen that they were cornerback deficient on their team. So because of that, he said, I want to go somewhere where I know I can get on the field. And that's that's what players do. I mean, you also look at the team scouting department. The Raiders are starting to create a little buzz in scouting circles and NFL circles. And nobody talks about this enough. The buzz they're creating is they got some good scouts. They're developing guys. When you see Richard, when you see Ingold, when you see Nixon and a few other guys, players that don't get drafted take notice. And that's a place I want to go because they're getting their guys on the field. And that means you have the opportunity to get paid down the road. And NFL people were starting to recognize that, and they have for a while. So give credit where credit is due. There's always going to be people that subscribe to the old way of thinking. And that way is, Mark Davis don't have money. They only like guys that are big, strong, and fast. and they're the renegades and nomads and cast-offs of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people are going to subscribe to that because that was for decades.
Yep.
That was what was pumped in people's heads. That's not necessarily the case now.
No.
Corey Littleton is not a cast-off from the NFL. They're not nomads. They're not guys that nobody else wants. There's guys that want to go to the Raiders like Littleton, like Nassib. There's guys that feel like that's their best option because they know they see something they're building there and it's special. They're not guys that look for, this guy's 6'3" and he runs a 4.3 and we're drafting him even though he doesn't have production. No, those days are over. You got to produce. You got football guys in their prime running the show. They know exactly the type of player they want. They have their own directives of what these players have to meet. And those are the guys they're going to select. Damn what Knight think, damn what Joe think, damn what Raider Nation thinks. These are our guys. And they made that clear with Cleveland Farrell pick last year.
Absolutely. And because they were not only just drafting the football player they like, but they were building a culture and setting the tone for their entire franchise. They knew they were heading into Vegas. They wanted a certain tone in the locker room. And that's why you saw a lot of the guys that they drafted. It was specific. And on that note, on undrafted free agents, Keelan Doss is another guy who was able to corner the market and get a contract just to come back off a practice squad to come back to the Raiders. So, he got paid before he even did anything, just because I think the Raiders were in a bit of a need at that situation at that point in time. But nevertheless, they knew that Keelan Doss had the potential. Look out for him to maybe make some moves himself in this preseason if we were lucky enough to get it, because I'd like to see how his game has developed now that he's had a year under his belt. He's been on a squad. He's actually got a little bit of playing time. He's got some looks, so he should be able to improve. And that's, again, a testament to what Mike Mayock has built over there in his scouting department. And now he's going into a year 2, John Gruden's year 3. And that's why we have a lot of expectations on this football team, is because they're bringing in guys that are competing and grinding, and it's only going to make this team better year in and year out.
It goes back to what we talked about. Iron sharpens iron.
Right.
Bottom line, Keelan Doss, I thought it was a mistake letting him go when they let him go. But at the same time, to get him back and to pay him where he probably would have been drafted, should there not have been certain things that happened in the draft and whatnot, or going into the draft process. But at the same time, to be able to get him and to keep him, or get him back and to keep him, that was huge for them, because I think he's a guy that has potential. A lot of people liked him, and a lot of people liked what he brought to the table. And I don't know, like I agree with you. I do think he's the type of guy that's going to have he potentially could have a nice year and a breakout year should he continue to develop. And I trust Edgar Bennett to develop him, to be honest with you. Edgar, to me, is one of the better wide receiver coaches in the NFL.
And he was already making a name for himself, but I like the way that John Gruden handled it. He goes, "That's what you guys were saying. That's not what I was saying." He wasn't putting Doss down. A lot of people thought that, he's saying that Doss sucked. He didn't say that. He was just saying that Doss wasn't there yet. And it's funny because I was even one of those guys that got caught up in his own fandom and was kind of like, Doss should have been on this football team, right? Why is Renfro? I mean, he's faster. He could play all positions, but you saw it last year. Hunter Renfro was a better receiver right out the gate. So, these guys know what they're talking about. And sometimes when we're analyzing, it doesn't matter if you're analyzing your favorite team or if you're analyzing your worst enemy. You have to understand what it is that you're looking at. And sometimes you got to take your focus and say, these guys know what's best. So no matter what I think, like all these people, and you do them too, right? All these mock drafts, and it makes sense. It makes sense. But nobody had the Raiders taking Cleveland Farrell there last year, right? But that guy was a solid pick, not only on the field, but in the locker room. And I think we're going to see that transpire into this year. So, with that being said, what happens in the first round this year, I think is going to shock people too, because the more and more you look at this roster outside of wide receiver, you could go anywhere with that 19th pick.
No, that's true. That's true. I will say, you brought up a mock draft. I did one today, or a couple days ago on Franchise Sports Media. It's actually up. We had some site issues going into today or yesterday, so we weren't able to put it up. But I do think that there has to be something said for players who play a specific position and just have a feel for it. Hunter Renfro just has a feel for being a receiver. He's not, DK Metcalf is a freak athlete that happens to play that they're such a freak, and Hunter Renfro is a receiver. And there is a difference. He's learning how to play receiver. DK Metcalf is at the NFL level, while Hunter Renfro is refining his game, because when you get to the NFL, practice is more about what you see, what you work on in high school and college. Those are your hard drills, and when you go out for your EDs, your early drills or whatever, those are your EDs in the NFL. They expect you that to already be your warm up, because when they get into their drills and everything that they're doing, all that stuff has to be perfect in order for you to move on into the next phase of your career in those drills, where they want you to learn something new, because you learn a different not playbook, but game plan every week. It's not like you have the same game plan. So with that being said, yeah, guys like me who do mock drafts, quite honestly, it's I'm guessing. All of us are guessing, and that's one of the things. Like I'll pull the curtain back, like and I think now's a good time as ever to talk about it. I was telling you before we did the show that me and Benjamin Albright were talking prior to me coming on today, or starting the show, and Ben's going to come on one of the shows sometime next week. We're going to have Ben on. And Ben's a good friend of mine. Ben and I go back a few years now, probably about 5 years, and Ben to me is a hero for what he does outside of talking about football. He served the country in the military, and then he also right now was in the Denver area and delivering food to elderly people. And if they needed it, he would pay for it out of his own pocket. That's Benjamin Albright. That's my friend who I'm proud of. Well, all the NFL stuff and what he does is extra. And Ben's another one. We talk to people, we formulate our opinions about things, and then we'll go ahead and do a mock draft. I did one last night on franchise. First pick at 12, Jerry, and I used the Draft Network. Now, next week, just full disclosure, I'm going to use Pro PFN's simulator. And that's a pretty good one. I actually like that. I may like that more than the Draft Network at this point. And I drafted Jerry Jeudy was there at 12. CeeDee Lamb went before him at 11. So I took Jerry Jeudy. My next pick at 19, I took Christian Fulton, the cornerback from LSU. The previous pick from last week was Kenneth Murray. In the third round, at pick 80, I took Chip Gay Jr., Willie Gay Jr., the linebacker. At 81, I took Cam Akers, the running back from Florida State. And at 91, I took a safety, Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois. Watch his tape. Watch this guy. He's explosive. He's a freak athlete. And he's a small school safety. He may go sooner than pick 91, but he's a freak. I mean, dude's big. He's physical. He's super athletic. The more I watched this film, the more I liked him. In round 4, I took Anthony Jennings. And in round 5, I took Leke Fuotu, the defensive tackle from Utah. I didn't do any trade backs in it because you can't in the Draft Network. But I'm guessing. I don't know if the Raiders are going to take any of those guys. I can only assume that they're going to take those guys.
Right. And you're probably really close and on point as far as position, though, right? I mean, we kind of know where the needs are on the football team, and we don't have to be the coaches, but we might value that differently than they do, and especially in certain rounds with certain players and how the board drops. So there's so many things that go on to it. That's what makes it so fun, right? That's why you like doing that. The thing that I tend to do is I try to make a list of the positions I'd like to see them fill, and see if they feel it. Doesn't matter where they do it. I'm going to see, are they going to feel what I feel is their needs? But that's because I have other issues. But in the big picture of things, I really like what the Raiders have done especially since Mike Mayock and Gruden got together. Just like in anything, the clickbait stuff. Let's make news, and they want to try to pin them against each other. You want in a football room, in a film room with two football guys, right? Picture you and I, Joe. We're sitting at the pizza parlor watching the draft, drinking some coldies, looking up, saying, you know what, we're going to argue a little bit, but that's football, man. That's guys, that's men being men at the table, right? That's iron sharpening iron. And we heard the stories of how that went down last year. So, they're not going to be the best of buds and with their arms around each other going, yeah, pick that, go ahead, pick that guy. You want the debate. You want to look at every angle of every player. So, when you read stuff in the media about John Gruden and Mike Mayock maybe not getting along or not seeing eye to eye, you kind of want to hear those things. That's the kind of rumblings you want to hear out of a war room.
As a TQ and I, who are best friends, argue all the time about the way one of us does some type of business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll get on me about something. It's a part of it because we sometimes will do that just to make sure the other one is on point. You know what I mean? We can agree with it, but we want him to prove his point a little bit more. See how how much conviction they have. They have in it. So go looking at the comment screen. Funky all right. I'm gonna start the last comment. He says, "How are we gonna feel if Mayock moves up for Tua?" If I'm a Raider fan, I'm gonna be kind of pissed off about it.
I would be
because the Raiders are not one quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender.
Like, and it really doesn't make any sense. We don't have the ammo to do that, guys. I don't. And it's quarterback. We're gonna have to pay him more money, and we do have to think about finances too.
Right, and the only way that you're gonna move up for Tua is if he falls after 8 or 9. They at 9 back to 11, maybe 8,
possibly, yeah.
Okay, but top 5, he's going top 5. He may go top 3. Hell, he may go top 2, depending on what Washington wants to do. So, let's be real about that. So I don't think that's even possible. If he slides, maybe, but there's no way they're going top 5. They don't have the capital to do so. They don't have a second rounder. They don't have a 7th rounder or a 6th rounder. So there's no way that's going to happen.
In my opinion, the only way that I really see the Raiders going quarterback in general is if they find a way to get back into the second round with it not costing too much. Now, I could see them drafting a wide receiver at 12 and then try to use that 19th overall pick to position themselves in the second round with a slew of other picks following behind it to get a Jalen Hurst. I could see that if that's an opportunity, or, trading back with someone like the Patriots, later on in the first round and gather up some other picks so they can make a move on a guy like Jalen Hurst. But I don't find it at this point to be that big of a necessity. We went over this last night. If you guys want to watch the show with Nick Hamilton, it's still up on the page. That they're not in the position right now outside of receiver. I feel like they're not put in a big position to make any other move. I don't think they have to necessarily find that guy to start, except for wide receiver. So they could play around with that 19th pick, but I would not go forward to get a quarterback. Too much price to get up there and too much price to pay out of the pocket to pay this guy.
I would agree. And Chris, as you see on the screen, brings up a good point. I watched the clip too, Chris, and Tua looked really good in that clip. And I think that there's 2 things with Tua's game that scares me. One is the injury history.
The health.
Every year as a starter, he's been hurt. And there's no denying that that's just what it is. On the field, the only thing that really scares me about Tua, I'll tell you, there's 2 things. One is his arm strength. I don't know if he has that. I don't think he has that elite level arm strength where the ball zips out of his hand and for him to get the ball downfield. Now, Steve Young didn't have elite arm strength. Peyton Manning didn't have elite arm strength. I get it.
Didn't have it. That's what people will say too. Yeah.
But that and then the other thing is, you look at what Clemson did to him. You look at what Clemson did to him in their types of defense. They gave him fits, and that's NFL caliber defenses. He struggled against them, and to me that's a red flag right there. You didn't see that with Deshaun Watson. You didn't see that with Trevor Lawrence, but you've seen it with Tua. That is a red flag to me.
And I've been saying this, guys, too. I mean, when you look at the last two drafts, this last past year and this year, we have a total of 5 first round picks. That's a lot of money right there, and within itself, right? And all of these guys so far have performed. Everybody understands that we got to see more from Abram, but that guy's going to come out and play, man. We've seen his personality. He's going to be a hard-nosed guy. We think it's going to be successful, which means all these guys within 4 to 5 years are going to ask for their second contract. And I've been saying it all the time. I don't think the Raiders need to fully stress over a quarterback in this year's draft. It would make more sense to me, whether they feel they need to move on or not. They can address that next year, and they could sell out a lot of picks to get up there because they're going to build the team. They got enough picks and enough early picks this year to really put a solid team on the field in Vegas. And they'll have the opportunity next year to move up and get that dude.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think at this point you have to kind of look at the way they are positioned. Quarterback's not going to be the guy. And Real Raider 2055 says Trevor struggled against LSU. He did, but it wasn't like he wasn't making good reads. His throws were off. He was his elbow was too high or his elbow was too low, and his ball was sailing on him a lot of time. He was inaccurate. Being inaccurate is different than, to me, and as long as I've watched the NFL and evaluated college quarterbacks and high school quarterbacks, being inaccurate is one thing, but a defense giving you fits and having you struggle to even understand or see what they're doing are completely different. And if you look at it, Lawrence, they still were in that game up until midway through the third quarter, I believe. And even at that, players weren't necessarily making plays around him. So Lawrence, I'm not saying Lawrence to me is I will say, he is. To me, he's a better prospect overall than Tua. But in part, it's because the injury history, like Big has said, Farrell Hester, he would know his son's a starting middle linebacker for UNLV. And if you're hurt in college, name a college player that's been hurt in college that went on to have a non-injury filled NFL career or didn't have their NFL career cut short by injury. It doesn't happen that often, if ever. I mean, Terrell Davis was injured at Georgia. He went on to have a Hall of Fame career, but his career was cut short by what? An injury.
Was it Adrian Peterson one of those guys too?
Well, yeah, AP playing though, and God bless him for what he's doing.
And he had the bad leg injury too.
He did. He had he tore his ACL his sophomore year, came back his junior year, and then had the one injury in the NFL, and he's had a pretty good career. But I don't know. Just to me, I'm leery about guys that are injured.
And this is the other thing that I wanted to, when it comes to the quarterback position. We've been talking about, and I'm not going to get fully into it, but I think we focus too much on wins and losses when it comes to Derek. I think we talked about it last night. Before we make that real decision, Derek does have to prove a few things. There's a few things out on the table, and one of them is cold weather games. And I know it's a weird stat, but I mean, at some point you're going to have to go win some cold weather games, right? And when we do play Kansas City, we do play Denver. We're always going to have to be on the East Coast at some point, whether it's in the NFC or AFC. So he's going to have to show some of these things that he is lacking, but I don't think it's this year. And I really hope that the Raiders, I'd be fine with Jalen Hurts in the second round. I really, really would, because he's one of the guys that I see that can contribute more than just quarterback in year one. So you're getting more than just a future pick for quarterback. But I'd rather, if he's not there, I'd rather them invest in all the other positions that they can this year. And then if that's the case, then really sell hard and go up and get Lawrence next year.
Raider Nation, let's hear from you. 253-993-3651. 253-993-3651. Jump in. Do you want to talk about, does taxes or lack thereof in Vegas play a role in players wanting to sign with the Raiders or not sign with the Raiders? What do you think about the quarterback position? Draft one early or not? Everything that we talked about thus far, jump in. Let us know what you think. 253-993-3651.
And if there's something else that you want us to talk about, call in. Let us know. We're waiting here to take your call. Before we do, we'll give you guys a few minutes to kind of think it through and call in. let's go ahead and take a quick break and pay some bills real quick. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Las Vegas. Al's Garage is the perfect location for watching your favorite sporting event, including our UNLV Rebels, Las Vegas Golden Knights, and the brand new Las Vegas Raiders. But you can find your favorite game on most of the time, along with everything you need to make your experience watching it perfect, including awesome service, food, and the best drinks in town.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Al's non-smoking, family-friendly environment is the perfect place for the entire family to enjoy a night out with great food and watching the best games. Al's is your place for large parties, fantasy drafts, work gatherings, or just meeting for the big game. For gaming customers, Al's offers a great voucher program, so make sure to inquire with the staff when you're there. Al's Garage is located at 11760 West Charleston in Summerlin. Tell them the franchise sent you. John Cutter is a neighborhood drinking and dining establishment that tends to parched throats and empty bellies for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night noshing. The laid-back atmosphere and awesome food is perfect for getting away from the hustle and bustle of the strip. The menu is short and sweet and does the trick anytime, day or night. The steaks are 100% Angus beef and the fish is flown in fresh. No freezers here, so you can be sure that the meal is made from the freshest ingredients available. From steaks and seafood to sandwiches, wings, and salads, you'll have no quarrel with the food, trust me. And stick around, because the later it gets, the more the place percolates. John Cutter's is located at 11770 West Charleston Boulevard in Summerlin. Tell them the franchise sent you.
All right, Raider Nation, we're back. Remember, the number is 253-993-3651. Give us a call. Let us know what's on your mind. On a bit of a somber note, we were talking before we came on, and Joe was talking about this coronavirus and how it's affected our country, but it's now hit one of the members on the working crew that's building the Death Star. So our prayers go out to his family. Our prayers go out to the workers that are continuously working day and night to get that stadium ready to roll. Sometimes we take for granted, we get upset because we're locked up in our houses, but there's still people out there on the grind, and they're putting themselves in harm's way for things that, may or may not matter in the future. But look, a lot of attention goes to the nurses, and it should, and the doctors, and even the grocery workers and truck drivers right now. But our nation's in a state of an emergency. And just to kind of hear that it's so close to home and someone that's given us something that we've been excited for. It gets real. It gets more and more real every day as it gets closer and closer to home.
Well, I'm going to talk to Tommy White. I'm going to see if I can get Tommy White. Tommy's the head of Local 872 Laborers in Las Vegas. See if I can get Tommy on. But according, I believe, to Vic Sapienza from Fox 5 in Vegas, Vince is a good friend of mine, actually. I went to high school and played high school football with his brothers in Upland, California. Vince said he spoke to Tommy earlier and that there's no stopping the construction, that everything is moving forward. So there's no delay in construction as of right now. And look, they're about 80, I'll say between 87 and 90% done, with they're putting in the screens on the outside, or outside of the stadium, on Dean Martin Drive, today. There's 3 of them. And, Mick Akers does a really good job. And I'm going to plug the RJ, the Review Journal. If it's coronavirus or COVID-19 related, all the content is free. And that includes stuff that happens with the Death Star at Allegiant Stadium. So nice. The worker apparently fell ill Friday, left the work site early. And as of now, no one else has come down with the virus, with the Rona. So that's a good thing, and it's moving forward, and that's all you can do. But we got some questions in the comment section.
Let's do it.
So Ruse 32 says, hey guys, a lot of updated mocks post free agency. So Derek Brown falling. If he's there at 12, do the Raiders pass on him? What do you say, Knight?
No, I say they grab him, man. We only got Collins for 1 year deal, and we're not happy with Hall. And Justin Jelly Ellis is coming off an injury. So you can never go wrong with a big dude in the middle. That frees up your linebackers and it really helps your edge rushers. So that's one guy that I wouldn't hesitate to pick, because once again, this is a draft that's full of wide receivers. We still get a solid wide receiver at 19.
Yeah. He's a guy that a lot of people I talk to think he's going top 5. He's a top 5 pick. Scouts and whatnot, they say he's going top 5. The top 7. So if he's there at 12, hell yeah, you take him. You know, again, you don't pass up on talent because you want to draft for need, because that's how teams get shitty real quick. You know, we need to draft a receiver. We need a receiver. But the best defensive tackle in the draft is available. And that's not as big a need because you signed a guy to a 1-year deal.
Right.
But I gotta draft a receiver. Yeah,
find a spot for him. Yeah,
you draft the best player available, or this is where people, this is where you do your. Okay, everybody wants him or he's available.
This is what I'm going to do. Round.
Yeah, I'll trade back. I'll trade back a few spots. Let's link up. You know, give me that second rounder. You know, and then you could drop, you know, the player you want to take at 12, maybe at a 15 or 16. So, you know, that's how you kind of handle that. Big Hess, Farrell Hester Sr. says he'll wait till next year for a quarterback to build a team around, you know, and just to get a plug-in QB later. Chris and Ruse both also wanted to point out that Jelly isn't even on the Raiders anymore. He's on Baltimore.
Is he really? I thought, wasn't he on injury reserve last year?
I believe so, but they may have let him go.
They must have moved him.
I think he let him go. Yeah, and then he had an injury settlement, I believe. Sean Roland Dub says he wants 2 receivers with the first round picks. Hurts in the second to trade up, and then depth the rest of the way with the picks that's left.
I see that being I wouldn't argue against that, because again, once you look at what they did in free agency, you can make the case with putting Joyner back in the nickel that there's some linebackers there, but I will say that we could use some depth at linebacker as well. So, but again, you know, Gruden wants an offense. 2 wide receivers in the first round would be pretty fantastic. I'm not going to lie, but I think it's overkill. I do. You know, I think there's enough receivers there with Doss and Gafford and signing Aguilar, having Williams and Renfro. I think at this point, 1 would be suffice. You know, like I said, it all depends on who's there. We've been talking in the last few days about Delpit. Delpit might be there at 19. I mean, I would rather get another safety in the house than go 2 wide receivers.
Okay, so 2 things. Both are going to be tongue-in-cheek. 1, Farrell Hester Sr. is going to know this. I want my double J.
I know you want
Judy and Jefferson in round 1.
I already knew you were going Jefferson. So you guys always have to open up the door for him to bring up Jefferson in every show, no matter what.
Oh, but it gets even better. You brought up Delpit at 12, Jefferson at 19. What?
Oh,
what?
Man, what? No,
I would be. I'm just kidding. I don't think that they go. I don't think that they go 2 receivers in round 1. But
you've been locked in the house way too long, man. You need to take a walk outside, get some fresh air.
I did that for the first time today before it started raining. Actually, you know, it was kind of nice to get the air. Let's go to Decker 99-1. He says, "Do the Raiders add more secondary?" I think they do in the draft, and there may be again, you know, depending on what happens with Demarius Randall. You know, that's another one. Again, they were really having some really deep conversations with him, according to people I know within both sides, both camps, Demarius's camp as well as the Raiders camp, and things just didn't materialize right away. And they kind of want to see where the rest of the market was. At least they kind of agreed to reconvene to see what happened. And I expect them to get back together if they haven't already, to get back on the phone and have a conversation this week. So he may be the one guy that I do think that would have some type of a realistic expectation to sign with the Raiders.
And that's and all these kind of moves kind of dictate as we move forward and towards the draft of what changed my mind. Like a week ago, I was all about Murray and a wide receiver, however it fell. But now, I still want Murray. I wouldn't be mad. I mean, I think it wouldn't be a bad pickup, but you kind of say, where do you play him? Where do you kind of really put him? You're going to go away from the nickel, or you're going to go for the 3 linebacker set as your primary defense. So I don't know. I mean, I'm really sold right now on wide receiver and secondary being the two areas that we could address in the first round.
Keep it, like Delpit's my guy right there. I'm going to tell you, and Hess kind of hit on it. Undrafted free agent, or if they can pick up a 7th round pick, a name to watch is Javen White.
Right.
Javen White, a linebacker, safety. He can play corner. It was at UNLV. He is a dude. And Hess ain't going to blow smoke up anybody's ass. And he's in the comment section. And he brings up Jay White. Jay White's that guy. And he could be a guy that, again, positionless NFL, can play multiple positions, and he'll bring something to the team that they love and that they would really, I think they really need and lack.
And that's the thing. I mean, and I don't know enough about Javen White to throw my hat into the game, right? But I do trust in what you gentlemen are saying fully. But I just want to use it to make the point that these are the kind of things, though, where the scouts make their money and where Mayock makes his big play, right? If Mayock has his eye on a guy like White and no one else in the country know exactly what Javen White's going to bring to the table, but they got some inside track on that can change and dictate what they do. You don't want to, especially later on. So, I mean, they could be looking at the linebacker position saying, yeah, we need more depth, but we're going to go with the White and go with the Delpit here instead.
What's up? Watts Raider?
Watts, my boy. What's happening, dude?
So Ruse32 says he thinks the Raiders are going to draft 2 wide receivers, 1 in the first and 1 in the third. Dawson Gafford are just guys. Williams can be released after this season with 0 dead money. Talent at wide receiver is too much to pass on. He's talking about the talent in this draft. I could kind of see that. I don't disagree with that.
Again, I could see it too, and I'm cool with it. But like I said, Randall's in the mix. Maybe we'll see. But I think secondary, shoring up that secondary, I think is a must. When we look at, we don't even know who San Diego's quarterback's going to be, right? I know everybody's looking at Tyrod Taylor, but I really don't think they're going to go that route. I think they're going to get somebody. So that's a team that's always been underrated. And a lot of the times, I honestly, when it come to me looking at the Chargers, I always made fun of Old Man Rivers and how he was the one that was always choking at the end and making the mistakes. If that's the case, the Old Man Rivers ain't there no more, but that's a mean and tough defense. They got some offensive weapons. And I think that we have to keep an eye on, our secondary and our linebackers, that back 7 to make sure that we stop Chiefs. I mean, the Broncos are right there too, man. I mean, they got Noah Fant. He started to come on last year. We got to protect the middle of the field and we got to protect the outside.
I agree. But I will say that when you're looking at wide receivers, there's a guy I think is going to be a sleeper in this draft. There's a lot of them. And that guy is actually Quintez Cephus from Wisconsin. He didn't run extremely fast at the combine. I think he ran a 4.7, but at Wisconsin's pro day ran a 4.59 and a 4.62. So let's just round that to 4.60. Okay. Prototypical size. He's a guy that is strong after the catch. And he's a guy that I believe is going to have a very solid NFL career. He's a guy you could get later in the draft, and you could pair him with a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb or a Ruggs or a Jefferson or Mims. And Mims is shooting, like I said it last night.
Yeah,
Mims was going to be shooting up draft boards, and now you got Mel Kiper talking about he's hearing him anywhere from 12 to 25 in the draft. So
12. Yeah, he went as low as 12 on purpose.
Yeah, but it's the fact. I mean, you can't teach what he has, that the size, arm length, and speed. So, but Quintez Cephus is a guy that I liked coming out of college, and he's a guy that I think is, I liked him in Wisconsin, and he's just a guy to me. I mean, he just makes plays, and I like guys whose film jumps out. That's why I like the corner from La Tech. Robertson, You know, he's small, he's feisty. He had a little bit. He's been dinged up. He's not like a 4'3" guy at 5'9", but the way he plays, he's just the effing dog, and I like that. His film is just amazing. So that's me. That's just me. I look at dogs out there. I don't care what position, and I'll probably piss off a lot of head coaches, to be honest with you, with the way that the way I look at guys, because the end of the day, I look at straight dogs. I want guys. I don't give a damn if you played at USC, Alabama, Clemson, Mississippi, UNLV. You could play at Poe. You could play at what was Bobby Boucher's college, Western Louisiana Tech or something like that. Western Louisiana State. Yeah, Northwest Louisiana State. I'll take him. Give me some dogs on that team, and I'll run with it. Let's go to the next one. And guys, call in. We want to hear from you too. Yeah. Go ahead, Knight. Go ahead.
253-993-3651. 253-993-3651. You don't miss out on the show, man. While you're on hold, you could hear us keep answering questions. So don't hesitate to call in.
And this is your show too, guys. We do this for you, not just for us. Ruse 32 wants to know, and he asked me specifically, do I know of any potential wide receivers that can be cap casualties post-draft? He's heard there could be a flurry of veteran wide receivers hitting the market. You know, there's always rumors, but I will say, like, I know Glaze put it out there. You know, Odell Beckham is not going to get traded. Cleveland's locking into him for at least for the year. I know, and he said not to the 49ers specifically. That's not to say that down the road that could change, but right now they're locked into him. The receiver market in general, as you know, Ruse, is kind of slow because of how deep this draft is. So because of that, there's going to be less movement on the free agent front because you can pay these rookies a little bit less than what you would pay a veteran. And you can have them for 4 years, and in some cases, the first round picks 5 years. So I think there could be some moves. But if a team is willing to move on from a guy in his prime, and my question would be, why would you want to add him to your team? Because if a team's nobody's going to give up something and get nothing in return if he can help them.
And after the draft, I'm really hoping that we've already landed that guy anyway. And like you said, when it comes to, I know Odell Beckham's name comes up a lot, but obviously you're going to have to give something up for him. They're not going to cut him, that's for sure. And, you know, I think Odell Beckham's game is sick, but at the same time, I don't like the divas, and he still reminds me of a diva. And I think right now, after what we dealt with last year, we got a good core. Let's just get that nice young stud in here, and let's move forward, man. Let's win some football games.
I disagree with that, and this may
as
be
far,
a first
as far as Beckham, or
as far as Beckham being a diva.
A little bit, man. I think he's a little mouthy, man. He can be. I don't think he's as bad as some of the other ones, but he comes off with a little, he's a little too flashy for me.
You see, here's the thing. He's passionate. And that's the thing. Like, I didn't like the fact that before a playoff game, wild card weekend, on his day off, he was down in Miami partying with Trey Songz. But at the same time, that was every wide receiver with the New York Giants that was on that boat. And that was on the yacht. And my brother pointed it out to me, and I had to like reevaluate that. He could do it down in Miami when they left DC to go down to Miami to do it and then fly back up on Monday night, and they were in the facility Tuesday. They could have been partying Sunday night and Monday in Manhattan and getting in trouble, but they just happened to fly down to Miami. So there's nothing wrong that that's their off day, and I get that. But every time you see him blow up, it was never because they were losing, or it was because they were losing, or it was never because he just wanted the ball for him. He wanted to win the game, and he knows for the most part he's the best receiver on the field in most games. So why not make sure that he gets the ball so they can be in the best position to win games? I don't see a diva with him. I think the New York media kind of made it that way because New York has their media as a great propensity of doing that. I mean, look at how many guys that were divas in New York, and then when they went other places, they were average guys. New York media loves to portray people that way. I don't think Odell Beckham's that way. he does some stupid shit. Don't get me wrong, but wearing the watch and all that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's pregame. Who cares what they're doing pregame? I don't give a damn. You could wear a watch pregame. Don't wear it during the game.
I just don't think Gruden wants that culture in the locker room. And why would Cleveland even want to get rid of him? I mean, I know they're saying they don't want to. I get that. But why would he already want out of Cleveland?
Okay. Have you ever been to Cleveland?
No, and I don't plan on it. So I get that, right? But you took the trade, you took the money, you're getting paid, do your job. At the same time,
he took the money in New York, though, bro. He didn't take the money in Cleveland.
You get paid to do a job. I say you do your job, bro. I mean, like a lot of the times, like me and you don't have that benefit. Me and you don't have that luxury, right? If you're going to get paid and you're under a contract, I mean, and I said this even about our own Khalil Mack, and I brought him up, right? Like I liked Khalil Mack, dude, right? But I also believe you were under contract, bro. Get into camp and make your case. If you're under contract, I mean, and that's one of the things that I didn't even look to see if they changed that in the CBA, but they got to take some of the power. Like these guys got to be punished to holding the teams hostage when they're under contract.
See, here's where I disagree with you. I don't have a problem if the guy holding out for my money if he's outplayed his contract, because teams don't have a problem cutting somebody if they underperform, and I have a huge issue with that. That's why I feel NFL players, if anybody deserves fully guaranteed contracts, it's NFL players. As a former baseball player, I'm saying that. And Beckham didn't sign the deal in Cleveland. They traded him there. He has not asked for a trade out of Cleveland. He has not said publicly, "Hey, get me the hell out of here. It's Cleveland." And we're our color uniforms looks like a pumpkin mixed with dog crap. That doesn't happen.
Out of all the uniform changes, really,
God,
they could change that one somehow. Do something.
They got some ugly uniforms. But my point is, and Gruden will take that. Gruden dealt with it with Keyshawn Johnson. He was going to deal with it with Antonio Brown. If you're performing for him, he's going to deal with it. As long as you're winning ball games, because at the end of the day, you give me a team full of 54 divas, and if we're going 15-1, 16-0, 13-3, and winning multiple Super Bowls, I'm gonna put up with your shit.
In both those cases with Keyshawn and Antonio Brown, they never finished the season. One didn't even start the season.
Well, Keyshawn won a Super Bowl with him.
No, he cut him.
No, he played in the Super Bowl. He played in the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl with them.
About someone else. Didn't they get in a fight on the sideline and he cut him? Or suspended him?
They got some argument. I mean, but again, I don't mind that, and okay, he wore it during the game. I don't care that he wore the watch during the game. Take it off. That's a head coaching thing. That's because lack of leadership. But to me, Beckham has never been a guy that, and again, I don't mind his passion on the field because he wants to win. I don't mind that. And you never hear teammates say, "Oh, he's an asshole" or "he's a dick." You never hear his teammates say that about him. He's a good teammate. That's what I listen for. I won't listen to rhetoric from the team because the team has an agenda, PR. But teammates, I'll listen to. They don't have an agenda. Not one of them was like, "OBJ, yeah, man, I can't rock with him." Not one of them has said that. Not one. And if they have, they're guys that are average players or guys no longer in the league. It hasn't been other players that were significant players. And to me, that speaks volumes. Well,
I could tell you this much, man. I've become very sensitive when it comes to players that are very flamboyant and just play football. I want to see some hard workers. I miss like, I grew up Tim Brown, right? And he was a lunch pail kind of dude. Just never always took what was given to him, and he made the best of it every moment that he had. And Jerry Rice was the same way. Even a guy. Well, no, I can't. I won't even use him as an example. But a guy like
Shannon, got to say his name.
Oh man, I was going to talk about Michael Irvin, but he was Mr. Diva all around. But he was still a hardworking wide receiver. I guess you could almost compare Michael Irvin to what OBJ does, right? I mean, that guy was.
But Rice was a diva. Rice was a diva, bro.
Rice wasn't that. Rice. I don't. Towards the end in San Francisco, there were some issues, but Jerry would just go to work, dude. He was that good. I never seen him go crazy.
Martin's number in Seattle.
What's that?
Like, why did he take Steve Largent? The Seahawks retired number 80, Steve Largent, one of the better receivers in NFL history at the time.
That was what the last year of his career. I mean, at that time, he was already considered the greatest of all time. So he wasn't going to win. That was part of the deal. The Seahawks, that's more on the Seahawks than it is Jerry Rice.
He asked for it though, and then in Denver.
I would still say 19? Ask for it or not. I'd still say you ain't taking it from Largent. That's gonna you're gonna be here 1 year, if that, at the very end of your career. I would have told him no. You could ask. I'd ask. It don't hurt to ask. What the answer is either yes or no, right?
Receivers historically, I don't want to say our divas. Not they're just more vocal. Receivers are more, and I'm defending receivers because I'm a former receiver.
Well, that's vocal. And I'm a former corner, so maybe that's the problem. But but at the end of the day,
corners aren't divas. Look at prime time, the biggest one of them all.
But every wide receiver will tell you they're open, dude. No matter, even if we're blanketing them like crazy, they're open all the time, right? Always open.
Look, do you know what it is? And I know, and people want to say, and I see Rue say he by him wearing the watch during the game, it shows poor judgment, putting himself above the team. He's trying to make some money. I think it was the watch was valued at like $500,000 that he got as a gift, to endorse it, and he wore it, and they're paying him umpteen, or I don't know how, they're probably paying him close to $1 million to endorse it. That's a business. I don't agree with that. I'm not going to defend that. I don't think that puts him above the team, because how many guys wear wristbands with sayings on it? How many guys wear spat over Nikes when they're not supposed to, because in both leagues that's against the rules, but some guys play better with spat on, but they're signed to a Nike deal, so they're gonna have to eat the fine or have Nike pissed off at them. Like there's just certain things that just don't get said. And I know that for a fact, because my brother loved Nikes, but he had to wear Reeboks or Adidas because they allowed him to spat where Nike wouldn't allow him to spat. And he was the type of guy that loved to have spat on his ankles and his feet. So things change, and I get it. But for me personally, look, when it comes to the receiver market, I don't think there's gonna be too much movement. Look, you're not gonna see Devontae Adams moved. You're not gonna see Julio Jones or Michael Thomas or any of the elite guys moved. You see probably the biggest name move, which is Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
You've seen that movement, and what Buffalo gave up looks like a lot on paper, but when you look at the Bills draft picks, how many draft picks they had, they basically they moved a couple mid-round picks, and they basically traded a 1 for Stephon Diggs, and they feel they're this close to getting over the hump now that Brady's out the division.
That division's wide open right now. Yeah, it's gonna be,
I think Buffalo's the favorite to win the division with that defense, and now with Diggs and that, and man, that team is loaded.
Yeah. So what are you hearing? What does everybody think too? What about the quarterback carousel still? We talked a little bit about it last night, but do you think that they run the Chargers, that is, because that's what pertains to us anyway? Do you think they run with Tyrod Taylor, or do you think they end up with Newton, Winston, or are they just going to go with the rookie?
You know what? As my phone buzzes. Oh, okay. I think Cam Newton ends up with the Chargers. I think Winston ends up backing up in Green Bay. I think Dwayne Haskins gets traded. And I think that, really, and I think Andy Dalton ends up with the Patriots.
That was a rumor that I heard too, like last week, that Dalton was probably more likely to be in a Patriot uniform.
But I see the Patriots drafting a quarterback in the first round.
That'd be interesting too. Do you think they would go? Who's going to be there late? Are they going to go up and get one?
No, I could see Jordan Love being the guy. I could see them if Justin Herbert starts to slide a bit. Look, they like Stidham. They got him as a 4th round pick out of Auburn last year. Bobby Hoyer's there to back up. I just think that they're going to see something in one of these young guys with their legs that they like. And I think, look, Mel Kiper's trying to sell, and I love Mel Kiper. Let me make this clear. I call him Uncle Mel. I think he's the GOAT when it comes to drafts and everything like that. It's Mel Kiper, damn it.
No,
he's comparing.
We will disagree there. I think he's the best one there now.
Look, he's the first. Okay,
I still say Mayock chewed him up, and that's not me being a homer either.
Mayock,
you go back in my tapes, man. I was a Mayock guy. That's the only guy.
Mayock is the GM of a team, though. When it comes to this,
now
the first one to do it was Mel Kiper Jr. He's the first one.
Gets on my nerves. I don't know what it is about Mel. I don't know.
Well, I'll say Mel's trying to sell Jordan Love as a poor man's
Mahomes.
I'd
be careful buying into all that, though. See, that's what I don't like about Mel.
I don't see it. I don't
like comparisons to begin with, but that's a big comparison to throw out there.
Well, Farrell and I, Big Has 13 and I have watched up until last year. Have watched Jordan Love at Utah State up close and personal, covering UNLV. His son plays for UNLV. I don't see Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes wasn't as athletic when it came to running the ball as Jordan Love is. Mahomes has a hell of a lot stronger arm than Jordan Love has. Mahomes can Mahomes throws the ball like his dad, a pitcher. He throws from the different arm angles. He'll come over the top, 3/4, fully sidearm. He'll throw his feet can be in different body, different angles. Like, that's what makes him special. Mm-hmm. Jordan Love doesn't do that. But what Jordan Love can do with the ball in his hands running causes problems. So when you look at what Belichick likes to do, he can draft a Herbert or a Love, put them behind a Stidham and a Hoyer for a year or two, really for a year, and then get them ready to go. I personally believe this. I think this is Belichick's final year or two in New England, and I think he ends up somewhere else, and Josh McDaniels becomes the Patriots head coach. That's just my belief. I think the damage of the relationship with him and Tom Brady, and then which caused a schism between him and Bob Kraft, I think that's just too much to repair. So for me, I would much rather have, if I'm Belichick, a Jordan Love for a year or two to groom, if I'm going to even stay there, or if I'm Josh McDaniels, Jordan Love for a year or two, or Herbert, compared to, and I like Eason a lot. He's got some of the best arm talent, but he's a project. You got to have to really develop him compared to some of the other guys that's in this draft.
I find that interesting. So if Cam Newton does end up in San Diego, dang, I said it again. If he ends up in LA, I got to just go with the Chargers.
I take a drink. You said San Diego and Chargers.
Oh, I don't have one. Otherwise I would. But I remember at one point I was like, okay, injury prone, inconsistencies. Okay. Yeah, I could live with him being a Charger, but I've also seen that guy ball out. He's had some MVP type years, and in the right situation, anybody could be resurrected, so to speak. So I kind of hoping that they go the route of Tyrod Taylor and draft somebody young and just let Cam Newton do his own thing. But I don't know. I mean, they're also supposed to be playing in a brand new stadium, even though it's not really theirs, but whatever. These are the types of moves that organizations make to sell tickets. So I get it.
Cam Newton's never been a passer to me, and that's where I think if he goes to
inconsistencies, right? You've seen him with the ability. I've seen him do it. He could throw a bullet, and I've seen him do it, but he doesn't do it consistently enough.
Yeah, I just think with Keenan Allen and those guys, like I'm gonna be real. I'm not a believer in the Chargers running game. I don't think Eckler's that guy.
Not now. I think losing Gordon hurts them. I think that puts them in a pickle.
Me too. I'm not. So, I mean, for me, I'm going to be playing pass more than I am run. That's just me. Ruse says, what are we hearing on Ruggs? My boy Ben Albright swears he won't get past Denver at 15, and he truly believes that he's a number 1 receiver. Do we pass on Judy for Ruggs? Gruden has to be enamored by him. Why does Gruden have to be enamored by him? Because he ran a 4.27. Like, if you watch the tape, he's open a lot because Judy's drawing coverage away from him. I look, Ben is as dialed into the Broncos as anybody, and if Ben says that Ruggs is there at 15, he's the pick, I would believe that. But Judy and CeeDee Lamb are better overall receivers than Ruggs. That's, to me, that's what I see on tape. I would put Jefferson on par with Ruggs, not just, from the intangibles when it comes to running routes versus running a 4.27.
Well, I could tell you a 4.27 sounds absolutely amazing to me, but I'm agreeing with you because, sometimes I got to get out of my Al Davis mode sometimes, and think that speed wins. I mean, we went over this before. The Rocket Ishmaels, the Darius Hayward Bays, even going back to like the days where, we always had the James Jet. We've always had that guy. That's what Nelson Aguilar is, by the way. Okay. He's that James Jet. He's that Rocket Ishmael. He's that Darius Hayward Bay, top speed guy, going to drop some passes. Willie Gault's another one. Another, they brought in James Lofton. There's a lot of guys that speed, but that does not necessarily make them an all-around weapon. And I think what the Raiders need is an all-around weapon. Now, the fact that someone with that kind of speed ends up in our division bothers me a bit, but it's one of those things that I've learned you can't control it, man. It sucks, but if he ends up becoming a Bronco, it just kind of goes along with, shore up that secondary, man. You got to shore up that secondary. Look, and then that would even lean me more to say, get Delpit. You know what I mean?
Like, look, for real. But look, I understand. Look, I had one scout tell me, and I told you this off air a couple weeks ago. I had one scout tell me that Ruggs reminds him of Isaac Bruce. That's who his game he models after.
That's not a bad comparison. I'm not a comparison guy, but if I had to understand it in my head, that would be a good comparison. And that's a good receiver.
And a great receiver. Yeah, and that's fine. To me, I think Judy's the most advanced route runner to enter the draft in the last decade plus. That's just me. From me watching film and watching receivers as closely as I watch them, he's a guy that, when it comes to advanced route running and the little things that you look for in a receiver, what they do, Judy does those things for me. That's why I have Judy ahead of Lamb. Like this. Judy, Lamb. And then from there, you got Ruggs, Jefferson, Mims, the kid from Notre Dame. The kid from Notre Dame's intriguing. He is Darren Waller, but a little bit skinnier. I mean, he's like 220, honestly. And he's I think he ran like a 4.4 something. He's like 6'5", and he's a big boy. So, and a wide, but Chase Claypool, he's a big boy. So, like, he's huge, like 235 plus pounds, running sub 4.5s. Like, this ridiculous, he's a guy that I would be in, he's going to go a lot higher than what people think too, I believe. I'm not shitting on Ruggs by any means. I just have more preferences. I just have preferences. And he's, again, when I'm looking at my receivers, my top 5 receivers in his class, Judy, Lamb, Jefferson, Ruggs, Mims. Those are my 5. Rieger's another one I like out of TCU. He ran slower than I liked at the combine. He ran like in the 4.52. I thought he was a 4.39, 4.4 guy. Maybe sub 4.41, but he didn't run that. Or he may run in the 4. I mean, I forgot off the top of my head. But on tape, he's explosive. So I look at that too. Like, okay, if you're explosive on tape and you don't run that fast 40, maybe he added too much weight, water weight for the combine. I don't know. But he's a pure slot receiver, but he's not a number one receiver. Teams that are looking solely for slots, he's the guy. Teams that are looking for a number one, he's not the guy.
And Mike Mayock touched upon this too, and he's talking about buyers beware when it comes to wide receivers in the history of the NFL draft. And we kind of seen that most recently. One example off the top of my head would be Amari Cooper and Sammy Watkins, both guys highly rated coming out of college, both top 5, top 7 picks. And what did they end up doing? I mean, they're not bad receivers, right? But I wouldn't, Sammy Watkins is not a number one wide receiver. Amari Cooper is not a consistent guy. I mean, even what he's doing in Dallas, he's not doing it consistently. And they gave him a nice big contract. So, again, he's a nice piece to have. So when we're talking about all these guys, there's different intangibles that Mike Mayock is looking for. Whether or not him and Gruden get on the same page on exactly what it is that they're looking for and what they expect from a wide receiver is going to say big dividends to what happens with that number 12 pick.
I'm going to tell you what both
you might be a dream come true for you. For you,
Yeah.
It might be Jefferson out of nowhere.
For real. And the thing is I'm going to tell you what those guys have done in their careers. They got paid.
Yeah.
Both of them have gotten paid.
Yep.
Sammy Watkins has been one of the biggest. I'm going to steal gun and ski mask a paycheck from NFL teams based on my potential. He did it with Buffalo. He did it with the 1 year with the, with the Rams. He parlayed that into a huge payday with the Chiefs. And look what Cooper did last year with Dallas and what he got this year.
And both of them, in my opinion, very inconsistent, very talented wide receivers. I'm not saying they suck. I'm not saying they're garbage. I'm just saying that, knowing what we know now, I don't think you draft them as early as you did. Neither one of them.
Nah. And I'll even stay with it. You look at the money that's being spent now with some of these wide receivers. Former Raider, excuse me, king of the drops, Seth Roberts.
Yeah,
this got $3.75 million from the Panthers.
Seth Roberts is another exact example of what I'm talking about, like a Nelson Aguilar, right? I mean, shows up big and makes big plays, and that's how he's making his money. But we all know that Seth Roberts was not the guy that we wanted for 4 quarters. He only showed up in the 4th.
Exactly. Chris Sproul says Daniel Jeremiah said he wouldn't be surprised if Ruggs went first with the receivers. Thought it was we thought it was interesting because he's close with Mayock. But did DJ have Cleveland Farrell going to the Raiders last year, or Abram, or I think everybody kind of had Jacobs. You know what I mean?
And I will say that I believe that Mike Mayock's smart enough, regardless if it's Daniel Jeremiah or not, to kind of give out that kind of information to anybody. Everybody, they're basing that solely on his speed. And I don't know. I mean, history shows that the fastest guy in the draft does not always necessarily mean the best player in the draft. I think that there's a value there. But when you look at what the Raiders need, they need more than 4.27 speed. Like I said, I'm old school, and I'm kind of programmed to think, hey, that would be an Al Davis pick, hands down, without a doubt. That would be, but this ain't the Al Davis Raiders no more. And you need someone that's going to run routes and do all the little things too. So,
yeah. So when it comes to receivers, I'm looking at it. He ran a 4.27. He's fast. We know he's fast.
Yeah.
Is he an intricate route runner? No, but he runs good routes. He catches the ball well. Maybe I am undervaluing him because he ran a 4.27. Most people overvalue players because they run a 4.27. Maybe I'm undervaluing him because he ran a 4.27.
It's going to catch a lot of people's eyes. You look at what Kansas City's doing with all their speed. It's a copycat league.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. You look at Mahomes wouldn't do a lot of the things he does if he didn't have guys running 4 threes and 4 twos all over the field. I mean, he's got 3, 4 of those guys, plus a badass tight end that plays like a receiver but is more than he's a badass tight end. So, I mean, he's loaded around him. That helps Mahomes. But at the same time, look, just because someone ran a 4.4 doesn't make them not fast. Look at game speed. Jerry, again, I'll go back old school. Jerry Rice ran a 4.6, and you didn't see people catch him from behind when he's in the league.
Hunter Renfro. I talked about it a few weeks ago. Once you get the ball in your hands, depending, that's what made Renfro so good, right? He knew where to go. He got open. Carr hit him perfectly. I'm gonna throw that out there. But it's about at that point. Sometimes it's not about speed; it's about angles. It really becomes about geometry at that point, right? Like, because Renfro's not the fastest guy, but he took it to the house twice. I don't know the numbers right off the top of my head. I think one was like a 68-yarder, and I don't remember what the second one was. So, I mean, you could go 68 yards without getting caught. Good play calling, the right angles, and he's you don't need the fastest guy on the field to make plays like that.
My favorite wide receiver ever was 5'10", 207 pounds, or 5'11", roughly 207 pounds, and ran in the 4.5s, but was arguably the greatest run after catch wide receiver in the NFL. And that's Sterling Sharp.
Was it move over Bacon? We got something sharper. Wasn't that it back in the day?
Something like that. I remember the commercials, the Nike commercials were, hey man, but I say that because I look at, again, if you are watching, if you watch film, don't watch YouTube highlights. You can watch them to see who they played, but go back and watch the game film.
All right, we got our actual first caller of the night. About time. Come on, guys. 253-993-3651. Caller, you're on the Franchise Raider podcast. Who am I talking to?
Yo, this is Raider Rich.
What's up, Raider Rich? Oh, look at, man, he's doubling up on us 2 days in a row.
Stand up.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna have to start handing out badges or something, huh?
Hey, but I keep seeing these mock drafts. Everybody wants CeeDee Lamb. Man, dude, he reminds me of Kevin White a lot. And I ain't trying to put or like Sammy Watkins. It's just, I don't know. I agree with Joe. If we're picking a receiver at 12, I would like Jerry Jeudy, because you get what you thought you were going to get from AB, but faster. Doesn't have the mitts that AB has, but he can work on that. How do you guys feel about that?
Go ahead, Joe.
Rich, I'm with you. What I like about Jeudy is first of all, his releases at coming out of college is advanced. Then you look at his route running, he would already be in the top 10, maybe even top 5 with route running in the NFL coming out. You can't those things get taught in time, but this guy's already perfected it to an extent at between the ages of 18 and 20, 21 years old. You can work on the hands. That's just extra jugs machines, and that's just working with your positional coach. But he's just got a knack for getting open. Now, if I'm going to talk negative about him, besides his hands aren't necessarily the best, and it's not really a negative, but scouts don't like the fact that he'll pick up as much yard as he can, and then he'll run out of bounds. Well, to me, that's being smart. I don't want a guy that's going to, at 6'1", 180 pounds, we're trying to run over a 6'3", 220-pound safety. Like, I'm sorry. Like, take your ass out of bounds and burn his ass the next play. That's just me.
Exactly.
That's kind of where I am. I like him there. If they went Ruggs there, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I want to see who else is on the board, because
Ruggs is not a number one. Ruggs ain't a number one.
I don't disagree with you either with that. I think he's a very good. He's a Tyrell Williams, just a different version of it. A very good number 2.
Hey, but now here's the flip on that though. Chiefs just won a Super Bowl. their top wide receiver, well, he's not a number one. Tyreek Hill is not a number one. The number one is Kelsey. That's the number one receiver. Tyreek Hill is the number two. He's a one-trick pony, but it's a hell of a trick. You mean? You know, you get on him early, you know, he tends to fizzle out, you know, in routes. That's why they move him around so much. However, now I understand that Patrick Mahomes is a special quarterback. Can the Raiders win with the number two being that speed burner in the same faction as the Chiefs? Because Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes don't even belong in the same sentence or the same breath or anything else like that. But can they win? Can they make the playoffs with a number two who's a speedster like that?
This is where I would say no, because Derek Carr can get him the ball down the field, and you could utilize him like they do Tyreek Hill. But I think we're better off in John Gruden's offense with someone that can run routes and has good feet. We're a West Coast offense. You know, we want to see Carr throw the ball down the field more. That's on just as much on John Gruden as it is Derek Carr's decision making. But most of his offensive design is going to be those short crossing routes and turnarounds and screens, and that's where I think we would get more out of Judy because of the footwork and the route running. Now, using Ruggs as like a Tyreek Hill, I mean, that again, I think we get caught up in the whole copycat thing. So with that being said, yeah, I'd rather have a guy that can run routes. Yeah, I know it's a copycat league, man, but we don't got Mahomes, right? If it's going to be a copycat league, then like you said, you want to put Carr in that category. So why are we going to go get a Tyreek Hill if we don't got a Mahomes to go along with it? It'd be a nice piece. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Well,
but that's what I see Ruggs as a Tyreek Hill.
See,
go ahead, Joe.
This you got to look at the offenses first of all. And the offenses are completely different. Okay. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid has evolved from his version of the West Coast offense. He runs more of a spread offense now.
Yeah.
And there's more movement. There's more disguising of formations and what plays actually are than what Gruden has done, at least in his first 2 years. He did a little bit better job last year of disguising some things to me, but you still, hey, look, if you can have a guy running a 4.2 something on your team and he's going to help you, I mean, and he's the God help you, God bless you. You know what I mean? But you don't have an MVP and a Super Bowl MVP as your quarterback, at least on paper right now.
Right.
And, you know, so from that standpoint, I agree. But, you know, at the same, what would this offense look like, to play devil's advocate, to have someone like Ruggs that has that 4.27 speed? How would that open up Gruden's offense? How would teams, you know, so it's a catch-22 almost.
Now, if Ruggs can show, and they can see it on tape where Ruggs is going to be that guy that does all the little things and not just be the speedster that's going to go deep, you know, and be the Tyreek Hill route. Because you saw the benefit of that in the fourth quarter. You got to get big points. You got to get him quick. You want some guy with 4.27 speed that's going to get over the top. But can he do all the other little things? And for me, if they really like his speed that much and they do something crazy like get him in the 12th pick overall right there, then I would definitely follow up the 19th pick with a route runner. That's just me though.
Okay. Hey man, Joe, you already know I like the show tonight. Just barely starting to listen to you. I like what you're doing too. I got one more thing I just got to say is, for this team to excel, Derek Carr is going to have to be able to run actual play action. He's going to have to be under center. He's going to have to turn his back to the defense. I know he doesn't want to, and every time he does, he gets happy feet. But he's going to have to get this down, dude. You can't have this superior run game and not run play action, proper play action, not play action where you kind of barely knob it out. No, he's got to turn his back to that defense, be able to whip his neck around, whip his body around, and be able to connect, down the field. This is something that has to happen with this team. You can't have a dominant run game without play action.
I totally agree with you, Rich. 150%. You have to be able, when you have a running back that is as gifted as Josh Jacobs is, and when you're able to, again, in a way, you mislead defenses, and even having a safety take one false step or a linebacker take one false step, that frees up the passing window by a yard or two, and that's an easy pitch and catch for most NFL quarterbacks. I completely agree with you. You play action is a staple of Gruden's offense. He had it in Tampa Bay. He had it with the first go around with the Raiders. They got to get back to doing that as well. 100% agree with you.
And I've said this about Carr from day one. The guy throws a pretty deep ball when he throws it. And when he's on, he's accurate. And I also said, even way back in 2014, this guy, one of the things that I bragged about was his accuracy and his ability to make the throws. Now, I always said he needed a running game. Well, he has that now. And you saw the benefit of that last year. But you're right. Like, if he's going to, you got to 90% of the time when Jacobs is in there, these guys are loading up the box because he proved that he's going to kill him. So if it's going, you're going to have 7 in the box, you got to be able to run that play action, man. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even have to be the deep pass, right? It could be a crossing route, but you run that play action. So it'll be interesting moving forward to see how he develops. These are some of the things that he's going to be looked upon that he needs to improve on greatly. That and using his legs more.
Now, now that you said that, Nate, I got one more question.
Mm-hmm.
What was the offensive coordinator under Del Rio where Carr was doing really good? I can't remember
Bill
his
Musgrave.
Name. Okay, Bill Musgrave. I don't know what he did to Carr, but he was able to settle Carr down.
He kept it simple.
Okay, when you said his deep ball accuracy,
mm-hmm.
I've noticed that when it's deep left, he's highly inaccurate. He's jumping around. And this is the last couple of years. There has to be something John Gruden can do. I mean, because honestly, I kind of think he is what he is, but I still believe that for us to win in Vegas, at least the first half of the season, it's got to be Derek Carr, because Mariota ain't gonna know the offense. Right. Mariota ain't gonna fully understand the offense until week 8.
I've said this about Carr too.
That's.
Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
So does Gruden need to bring in Musgrave and figure it out?
Well,
I mean, what's the deal?
What I've noticed too, even if you go and look back in 2016, one of the biggest things that made Carr that good was we were arguably the best offensive line that year. Last year we raised up, but we got back to that old school. We had a good offensive line. You see Carr play better when he has 100% full confidence in his offensive line, and I don't think he fully had, especially when it comes to that left side, right? When Donald Penn was over there, I think he was a little bit more comfortable. I think he's starting to trust Miller more. You got Incognito there, and that could really I've noticed that with Carr, and that was one of my biggest knocks when I started doing these videos again, like a few months ago, was that Carr needs to play with more confidence, and he has to stop playing scared. He has to trust the system and what's in front of him. And I know he's been hurt and he's been battling back from that, but I think it was shown last year that this offensive line has the talent. And just like it goes to, it's the same reason why he doesn't like to turn his back in the play action, because he's not trusting his offensive line. He doesn't want to get hit.
So should John Gruden, because I know he likes his quarterback under center. So maybe because now that my mind's percolating, I remember he would be in the shotgun a lot. with the 3-step drop.
And I think that hurts the game, though.
That
hurts the running game.
Exactly. So, but I mean, do you think because John Gruden could incorporate just a little bit more of that, maybe, once a quarter? I mean, run a 2-minute offense and allow him to be in the shotgun with the 3-step drop. I mean, because, that's going to give him what? Almost 10 yards. So he feels a little bit better about himself. I mean, I agree that he can make all the throws. And that's probably my biggest problem with him is I've seen this dude be a badass, and I don't see it anymore.
See, you're frustrated with it. You're frustrated with the fact that you've seen glimpses of what he can be and what you think he should be, but due to the injuries and inconsistency, it frustrates the hell out of you because he's not that guy. And I'm gonna tell you what I would do if I was running the team, if I was the head coach. What I would do to start off every damn game, I'm going no huddle, I'm going NASCAR, and I'm getting him in a rhythm early to build his confidence up. I'm gonna do that, and see what happens. And if it look at what the Bills did in the 90s with Jim Kelly. They still ran the ball effectively with Thurman Thomas and Kenneth Davis and whoever else was the backups there, but they ran that no huddle. They ran that K gun real quick, and that got Kelly in a rhythm. And it's the same thing. I think that I would actually, and I said this to TQ, and I've said this to other people when I'm watching Raider games at our garage. I said straight up, hey, go no huddle and let's see what happens. Let's get them in a rhythm, and then that could, in turn, now they're playing coverage, which is going to open up your running game, and Jacobs should be able to gash him at that point.
Right. Oh, I agree. I mean, I thought under Musgrave, Derek Carr was at his best when he was running no huddle.
In the shotgun.
When everything was hand signals. I mean, they were on point. On point. And then it just went away. It really did.
And his best year statistically, though, was last year in John Gruden's offense. So it's there. I just think he needs to trust it more.
Yeah, but his best year statistically, I mean, he was what, second to last in intended yards? No, I'm sorry, that was yards to sticks. And intended yards, he was fourth to last amongst qualifying quarterbacks. Kind of shows his receivers were doing a lot of the work, but that is John Gruden.
That's John Gruden's offense, yeah.
So I mean, just for all the good things you could say, completion percentage, things like that, it ain't hard to be. I mean, I could be accurate at three yards down the field, 5 yards down the field. But I will say this: he's got to be willing to take them shots down the field. And even if Gruden don't like it,
I've said that
he's
got to step up and put his big boy pants on, and he's the guy that's seeing the field. Sometimes you gotta take that chance. You're gonna get yelled at on the sideline if it don't work, but if it does work and he's still yelling at you, you can yell back and be like, "Well, look what happened. Look what I did."
Yeah, well, John Gruden ain't gonna like you anyway. So
but we were talking about football though. That's guys being guys though. Guys being guys. Like, we're never gonna be happy, right? We're gonna sit in front of the game. I'm gonna like one thing, you're not gonna like the other. We're gonna talk shit to each other, and that's football.
Exactly. And I'm gonna sit there, push your buttons. And that I'm sorry, dude. That's how I lived my life since I was about 5.
Yeah.
So
all right, Rich. Hey, buddy. Hey, brother. Look, two things, bro. Two things. I'm gonna give you two things. One, when you get a chance, go to Upland, up Mountain Avenue, right before Foothill. Louis Fish and Tacos, chicken and fish. Louis Fish, chicken and fish. That's the best food you're gonna have in the city of Upland. And ask for Jeff. Tell him I sent you, and he's gonna take care of you. He'll give you a discount more than likely. And it's badass food. And the second thing is, my man, stay away from Club 215 for the foreseeable future.
Oh, okay. I feel it because I work right down the street. I'm gonna give you one though. All right. Next time you in the Dino, baseline Mount Vernon. Yeah, we know what neighborhood that is. All right, Pablo's Taco Bender.
Oh yeah.
Chili fries.
Oh yeah. I used to go there. I used to go there after 10 when Club ABC was over there. We used to go around Sunday nights and get lit.
Hey, you got what you got to do is bring Knight with you, because you won't want any kind of chili fries ever. hey, everything will just be bunk. You mean? I mean, dude, the best green chili sauce, thick as all damn hell, cheesy. Wow. But all right, fellas, I gotta go.
Appreciate it, Rich.
Happy birthday. Love the show. Peace out, Joe. Peace out, Nike.
All right, Rich. Take care, brother.
Peace, brother. Thank you, man. Man, that's my guy right there, man. I love talking IE.
That's
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always gonna give bits of IE anytime Rich calls. Give little nuggets.
Yeah, you guys make me hungry though, man.
Hey,
can't go nowhere.
For real. Now, my cousin owns. Actually, he's not really my cousin. Like, I've known them since we were 4 years old. His brother and I went from kindergarten through high school together. Lived across the street from our whole entire life, right? So we're more than cousins. We're brothers. He owns Louis Chicken and Fish Grill in Upland, and he bought it about 4 years ago or so, 4 or 5 years ago, right before I moved to Vegas. And I go in there when I go back home to Upland, and I eat and I pay for my food when I go back because I want to support. You know what I'm saying? I believe that if you have a family member or friend that's doing business, pay, support.
Absolutely.
And he'll end up taking, like, give me like a family discount, whatever. But literally, and I've eaten in every restaurant in the city I grew up in multiple times. And that and it's phenomenal. It's healthy food too. He has some of his mom's recipes on there, like her meatloaf that she puts together. So, and I took Jaleesa there, and with our son Carrington, last June or July, last July, and they're like, "Damn, that food was bomb." I'm like, "I told you, like." And my cousin Jeff owns it. It's phenomenal. If you guys are in the IE, go check out Louis Chicken and Fish Grill. It's more than just chicken and fish. He hasn't changed the name, but it's been around forever in the city. And when he bought it, he kind of kept some of the stuff and flipped it to adding his own stuff. So I'm always give out IE tips to everybody. So
cool.
Yes, man. So
all right, do we have anything in there, or are we going to wrap it up right here?
We'll wrap it up. We got 2 things. We'll go 3 things. Farrell Hester says Edelman isn't fast, but he's a great route runner, which means Farrell's saying he's creating separation that way. Piggybacking off that, Fierce Raider says, so what we're saying is the Raiders don't need anybody with speed. No, I don't think we're saying that. I'm saying
no way.
If that's going to be their guy, then that's going to be their guy. But
we need speed, but you want an all-around player.
Exactly. And I know, like, Chris Sproul thinks that he is an all-around player. Chris Sproul also said that he kind of thinks that the Raiders are going to go CJ Henderson at 12 and then take a receiver or trade down at 19. CJ Henderson is the corner from Florida. B Raider 1982 says Carr is scared. And then Fierce Raider 88, the final one that we've gotten in on the comment section is Carr may not fit Gruden's offense, hence why Mariota is there, because Mariota does fit what Gruden wants to do.
I think they're being smart. I think I said it from the get-go. Mark Davis has any say in all this at all? He's saying, I've spent a shitload of money. We have to produce this year. And Derek Carr gives you that best chance. But I think the writing's on the wall. This will be his last run at it. Everything that you guys said is true. Whether or not he doesn't fit the offense the way Gruden wants to, or whether he plays scared, whatever, cold weather, all that has to be answered this year. And yes, Mariota is there to ensure that happens one way or the other. And then we'll see where we go next, drafting a young guy or whatnot.
Well, I'll say again, like last night when we sit on the Silver and Black Hole podcast with us and Nick Hamilton, the Raiders don't have the luxury of being having a honeymoon year in Las Vegas.
Nope.
The Raiders,
I heard that from you first. Yep.
Yeah, with the Golden Knights success and what they had their first year, that kind of blew any honeymoon period out the window for the Raiders. So the Raiders have to go in trying to win, and to be in a position where last year you were really one game away from being a playoff team going into the final week of the season. And now it's this. I think being a playoff team, that should be the expectation this season. You came into the final week of the year, playing for the final wild card spot. So at this point, the Raiders know we got to go in and we got to win. And I think the leash and the rope is going to be a lot shorter for Carr and for anybody for that matter that's on the team that's not performing, because at this point it's year 3. Gruden thinks that they're a playoff caliber team. He's got 7 more years left on his deal. He's not going anywhere until he wants to go. And this is a big year. You have the city of Las Vegas that's buzzing for him. You got to go out there and win. And they're going to do what they have to do to get out there and make sure that they do put forth the best team and gives them the best chance to win, this season going forward.
And I think Carr understands that himself. So, I mean, no matter what happens, it's all on his shoulder, literally. And, I think you're going to see either a guy that's going to come out like owning it, or a guy that's just going to continue to be who he is. And that's when you'll see the Raiders make a call. So
my man, Kevin Wayne entered here, man. Kevin Wayne is one of the best Raider fans and follows. I mean, he's followed me on, I think, on a lot of my Kevin. First time I've seen Kevin in here since we've been doing this, and it's good to have Kevin in here. He's very insightful. So, Kev, thanks for jumping in, brother. And yeah, it follows me on Facebook, everything, man. My man's damn near everything. I have it one, keep that one private.
Cool.
So,
guys, well, I want to appreciate Rich for calling in, and guys, I'm just gonna ask you guys again, if you guys feel obligated, just think about it. Call in. Let's build this community. I really want to build this up to be your show, not our show. We love talking. We can come on and talk whenever we want. It's just a click of a button. You can too, but I really want to get to know you guys and get your thoughts and opinions, because none of us are right. We all just have opinions, right? And I love the debate. I love to talk things out. So give us a call. We will be back. As of right now, we'll probably schedule out till next Wednesday, but we got other shows that will be coming on here. Do you have anything scheduled out, Joe?
I'm on tomorrow.
Okay.
And probably Friday. I'm gonna be on here every day, folks. I'm just letting you know. I'm gonna give you whatever I can every day. I got to. But I want to say, Raider Nation, you guys are great, and don't fall for the clickbait BS that some people want to have you fall for. You got a lot of people that want to talk a lot ahead about their show or whatnot and what they're doing. Look, there's a reason why we don't. There's a reason why we stick to the topics that we stick to, and we want you to be involved. This is the Franchise Raider podcast network is for you, and you have a voice. And believe me, with some of us that are involved in this, the Raiders do pay attention. They do jump in. They do listen. So, you want TQ on here? I'll get TQ on here tomorrow. How's that? We'll get TQ on here tomorrow. I'll call that bastard up and say, Squeeze, get on here.
They're funny together. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a show within itself, y'all. Really.
We'll do the Franchise Boys. We'll do me and Squeeze on here tomorrow. And Night will jump on to make sure, and you'll get a Franchise Boys podcast. And it'll be me. You have me and Squeeze. I'm not going to, maybe in the middle of the day too, since we're not doing shit in the middle of the day. So, and please believe me, we'll do it. And I'm going to make sure I got a few of these libations going through my system to make it even better. Cause, me and Squeeze. Yeah. If you guys have seen me and Squeeze together on the Franchise podcast in the past, you'll see, you get a whole new side of us. So
that's it, man. So we'll look for that tomorrow. We'll set that up for tomorrow, and obviously we'll have something coming Friday. So as of right now, we're going to try to give you guys daily content. So just keep out there and think about it. Call in, become a part of the show, become a part of the team. Until next time, this is Joe Arrigo and your boy Knight. Stay Raider strong.
Salud.